All right, we're rolling. This is Freedom Phil here, live from the wasteland. What's the topic tonight? Apparently, there's this lady, a teacher, that got recorded by one of her students in a K through 12 system that was basically going on anti-Trump screed. And if it wasn't acceptable back with the religious right, and I don't think it's acceptable at all, then it's not acceptable now. And I'm glad that people are starting to be, have recordings. I mean, I know a lot of people say kids shouldn't have cell phones in school, but if your kids can't have cell phones in school, then can we at least have cameras in classrooms so the parents can see what the teachers are teaching? I know, though. Why do we need cameras? Why do we need police cams? Because sometimes people lie. And the idea that you'll have some teacher going off because they think they're in a safe zone to basically indoctrinate your kid into whatever nonsense they believe in, be it right, left, religious, or whatever. Nah. Teachers are supposed to teach. So where am I going with this? It's Freedom Phil. Like, subscribe. Let's get into it. Hey, turn up the video speed. And why do I always say that? Because if you're watching this video at regular speeds, what are you doing? The channel's called Turn Up the Video Speed. If I upload this, you should be watching at 1.75. Let's get into it. And hey, if you're in my chat, try not to be a fucking retard or repetitive. Let's get into it. So I was watching this video by the Quartering, and think what you want of them either which way, but it's good reporting in the sense that it shows this woman basically out there, and she's like going off. She's like, well, there's these conversations that Trump may have done this and that and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, you mean people that just put out tips, like false tips? Like politics wouldn't do that. I mean, I don't know if you remember the Herman Cain situation or Jeff, what was it, Kavanaugh, whatever his name was. But yeah, basically, like people wouldn't go out there and put false information purposely to screw over people. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm seeing this woman go off about it, it reminds me a lot of what you saw back during the religious right. Now, it didn't happen all the time, but there were some teachers that were that way. And what do you mean by that way? They had an angle that they viewed the world, and they made sure that their politics or religion or whatever, they told the kids this, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? That doesn't teach your kids one bit of math, science, reading, or anything useful. Can we take the politics and the religion and all of this and kick it out of the schools? Like, I'm really sick and tired of people talking about using the concept of critical thinking as a mask, a disguise, as an excuse for why some of your teachers basically are trying to indoctrinate your kids into a line of thinking that you may not agree with. And here's the reality of it. If it hadn't been for that, I don't know, young boy, young girl, whoever, that champion recording this teacher, nobody would have known. Maybe the kids would have gone, yeah, my teacher's a little bit of a nutbag, and the kids and the parents would have been like, oh, I had one of those back in the day, and they would have moved on. But you people need to see that some of these teachers are quite literally, they're just fucking activists. Now, if they can't just teach the class, I don't think they should be teachers. And if you want to work for some, school that has this, ideological bend, and that happens to be part of their charter, then you go work at a private school. And it's just like with the Christians. If you want to be at a Christian school, go to a fucking Christian school. You want to be at some far left socialist school, you go work for that. But when it comes to the public school, I don't want to hear religion. I don't want to hear politics. I don't want to hear any of that shit. I remember the fights back in the day that people said, I'm not going to pledge my allegiance, your God, your flag, your anything. There were huge fights in court over that. Only to become now today where you have these activist teachers basically out there trying to indoctrinate your children behind your back. That's not what they're getting paid for. They're paid to teach kids. And I know public schools teaching kids. Oh, that's such a far cry from reality, isn't it? When you look at some of the math scores, the reading proficiency, their ability to understand any level of science. I don't think I'm asking for much from people on this. And I run into all these fucking retards that think, oh, wait, so you're anti-left. No, I'm anti-nonsense. I remember when the far right was a bunch of bullshit as well. But right now, the far left is the shittier of two pieces of toilet paper that we have to choose from. So I'm just calling it out as it is. And I agree with Jeremy's, kind of outtake on, what he said. Jeremy from the Quartering. It's pretty spot on. By the way, watch this video. It's pretty fucking spot on that these people are fucking activist lunatics, and they start out with little kids and try to groom them into their line of thinking. And then when they get to late middle school, high school, they're grooming them into being little activists. And then by the time they get to college, they're like, yeah, man, tear down the system, man. man, you could you could teach these kids to be plumbers, electricians, and, tax accountants and all sorts of wonderful things. Instead, you teach these kids to be fucking ready to burn down shit instead of building it. Yeah, oh, by the way, if they had real skills and had a real prospect at a job, maybe they wouldn't be burning shit down. Maybe if their things were affordable. And one comment the woman said is, "Now I'm counting my grocery bills and all my bills, and I want to see if it's less than it was before he took office." So, like, honey, you do understand that how much inflation happened to Biden. I'm not excusing Trump, but let's be honest, Biden didn't reverse that inflation rule. And what I'm getting at with this is that overall, what I see these activist teachers, it's a reason that, much like with police body cams, we need cameras in every single school. Not tomorrow, not today. We needed it yesterday. We needed it 20 years ago. Not to mention for the teachers that have to deal with some fuck shit students too. You hear about cases where, a kid's a shitty kid in a bad neighborhood and they assault the teacher. Yeah, there should be some proof that your kid's a fucking thug and they're on the future, convicts of America list. So it's not just for the protection of the students from being indoctrinated in some nonsense, be it right, left, or whatever. It's also to protect the teachers when the students are acting a fool. Cameras in every school, every class. And, that way the parents, they can actually review it. You could have a group of people and they're like, we're reviewing this and we're looking at this and we want to see. And I bet this fucking indoctrination shit would stop tomorrow. And you know how I know proof of this? Right after COVID started happening and the parents actually saw what their teachers were saying. They were like, well, wait a minute, you're talking about, and these, by the way, a lot of these teachers were the same teachers. But back during COVID, late COVID, and it started going to the trans movement, these are the same teachers trying to guide, let's be honest, groom your children into the trans shit. So I'm just saying, cameras in every fucking classroom. Because if you don't want the kids to have cell phones in the classroom, then there should be cameras in every fucking class. And if you want to make it like police body cam, and it has to be this way at this point, because it's like people are looking for quiet, secret places to spread poison. And I'm like, nah, fuck that shit. Nah. If you're gonna force the American taxpayer to pay for this school system, at the very least, we should know that you're not trying to indoctrinate our kids into whatever nutty beliefs you have. Your nutty beliefs, just like any other job, you check your fucking bullshit, your baggage at the door. How'd that song go back in the day? I don't know why you're messed up. I don't know why your whole life is a chore. Just do me a favor and check your baggage at the door. And that's exactly how your public schools should be. Teachers should be teaching. And if kids act like a fool, then we got video of it. But the idea that, you have to have your kids acting like secret agents, kids go in there, and if they get caught recording, there's going to be a permanent record black mark on their record. They're gonna fuck with that kid. So that's why mandatory cameras should be in every damn classroom. There should never be a question. Anyways, I'll read this quick comment here. They got cameras on every road tracking every time. Yep, you goddamn right. They got them on. They got them on street lights. They got them on. He's got a good point there. Why are cameras practically everywhere else in America other than in classrooms? People talk about, we'll live in a surveillance state. We already live in a surveillance state. Go down the road. See how often there's some sort of traffic cam or police cam. I grew up in a coastal town out there in Western Washington, and there are tons of them around. And one of our favorite, by the way, I'll just end it with this. One of our favorite places to use to drink was right below the camera. We'd be smoking a bowl before it was legal and drinking a 40-o because right below the camera, they couldn't see you. So the pole went all the way up and they couldn't, it was a blind spot. And we would just sit there, just laughing about it. But still, we already live in a surveillance state. So why exactly won't they put the cameras in the schools? And the answer is because they don't want you seeing what they're trying to indoctrinate your kids with. Anyways, this is Freedom Phil. Y'all take it easy. And by the way, check out Jeremy from the Quarterings video on that. Seriously. He's fucking nailed it on that. So, hey, take it easy. Peace.